Hey guys, Will Terry here, and this video is about the book that I am launching next week. And just kind of making an announcement to you guys. Um, this is the part of the video where I make the apology for like being absent for like a year. And I have to say, when you have a life-changing event in your life, and in my case it was losing my wife, which for those of you who follow my channel know that happened. And it just, it's almost like hitting a reset button on a computer. In some ways it's like everything that you did, all your routines change, everything changes. And in my case, I really found it hard to draw. I couldn't even make art, and I've talked about that on previous videos as well. As far as making videos for this channel, pretty much ended. And at the same time, I had responsibilities to our online education site, svslearn.com, and our podcast there, the 3 Point Perspective podcast, where I had to make a choice on just the different projects that I was working on, what my life moving forward was going to look like. I did what you're never supposed to do, which was to start dating right away. And just, I feel like it was divine intervention that I found uh, a woman that I just fell in love with, and we got married, and life is great. But it's weird. Like, after having this pause, making this video, and it kind of comes out of nowhere for a lot of people. And but I just kind of wanted to give a little bit of background on it, and why I just didn't. But one of the things that I did in trying to figure out how to live again, because that's really what happens when you lose a significant person in your life. I lost my mom about 7 or 8 years ago, and she was dying for a long time. She had Alzheimer's. So we were losing her over time. When my wife died, we had no idea that it was coming. She had an autoimmune disease, but that's not what killed her. And it was like a bomb going off in our family. And it's something that you just don't plan on. And anyway, I really had a hard time keeping all the plates spinning that I was working on at the time. And the YouTube channel was one that was more easily left alone. But in trying to get back to work, I needed something that I could do. And every time I would sit down to draw, I just found myself, everything I drew just sucked. It's like, it was the weirdest thing. It was like, and I just didn't care. I didn't even want to draw. All of that ambition went away. And then I found it again during Inktober last year, and really had a fun time contributing to Inktober. But before that, about 3 weeks after she died, I knew I had to do something, because I was, you can only sit around and stare at the ceiling or watch movies to numb yourself out. I don't drink, and I don't do drugs, and I'm sure if I did, those would have been abused. You know, and so I knew that I needed something, and so the project that I picked up, I thought I could turn this horrible thing into a positive. And I thought, because I couldn't draw for myself, but as soon as I started to think about writing the book with the title of this video, what they don't teach you in art school, or what they don't teach in art school, I had been wanting to work on that for the last 10 years, and I had been compiling things and kind of putting them in a folder, and writing little things and putting them in a Google Doc. And I knew I was going to write this thing, but I kept there was always another project that was more important. Everything was always more important. And then when I picked it up again 3 weeks after she died, I found that I could just work on it. It was very different than working on a piece of art. I had purpose, and I had meaning, and I really envision the people that it was going to go to and that it was going to help. And I think that was the difference, is that it was a book that was going to really affect other people's lives, probably a lot more than, just making another piece of artwork, which I just couldn't find a passion to make. So I started compiling everything and fleshing out my outline for this book, and I wrote it. It wrote itself pretty quickly because all the advice in the book and all the things are things that I've always talked about here on this YouTube channel. There are also things that I haven't talked about here, things that other people have talked about, other theories and methods and ways of doing things that are proven for illustrators to make a place for themselves, to carve out a career for themselves in the freelance world, and also in making your own projects, and in marketing your work in different ways. And I just kind of broke down into a bunch of different chapters. And I'd had a lot of people that had asked me, are you ever going to release an art book? And I always wanted to do that as well. And so my idea for this book was kind of a hybrid, where I share my artwork that I've done over my career, but then also make it a business book, and have a lot of advice in there. And so this was like when I decided to make that book about 5 years ago, but then I worried that I wasn't ready, that I didn't have enough, I don't know, information. It was a daunting task, and I needed this life shakeup, this reset, to kind of really find this project and just do it. And so I dove in, and I wrote all day long some days, almost as a therapy, a way to kind of take my mind off of what had just happened, and also to just really find purpose. And I found that that's really what got me back. Jake and Lee were really good about letting me have time to not do SVS for a while, and so I was able to get this book written last summer and finished it right around last fall. And then I've been compiling things, and of course I had a wedding in there, and a bunch of other freelance and things that I needed to do for other for our company and everything. And anyway, I was going to launch this book in the spring, in March, and then we got the COVID virus, and everyone's attention was on how to stay alive and how to not get sick, and so I put it on the shelf for a little while. But I think now, as we're starting to open up in different states, and as people are learning to live with the virus, we went to church last week, and we had to wear masks and stuff, and it was very limited. Every other pew was closed. There was only half of our church was allowed to come, so it was very sparse. It was like a person over there, a person over there, and anyway, I think we're learning to live with this, and I thought this is probably a good time. It's summer, and our minds are on doing other things now, and also people are at home a lot and want something to kind of dig into. So I wrote the book. I've got all the artwork for the book. I've got artwork that you haven't seen before that I'm going to be sharing, and there's graphs in the book. There's a lot of diagrams and things like that, and charts. And then I got Marilyn Nelson, who was going to work on the last Little Heroes book, who did the one before, who's a great designer. She's agreed to design it. She gave me some mock-up pages, so I'm going to share those. You're probably seeing those right now because I'm going to edit this. And I also contacted 12 illustrators, 12 very highly accomplished and decorated and famous illustrators. And I've put I asked them for their advice on how they would contribute to the spirit of this book. And I asked them a specific question, their advice what would their advice be for up and coming artists? What would be the most important thing they could tell a young up and coming artist, and so they'll be shown on the Kickstarter as a contributor to the book, and they've got a piece of their artwork in there as well. And so I basically am just trying to get the word out now. I'm we're launching it Monday, the 29th of June, on Kickstarter at 10 a.m. Mountain Standard Time. And so if you want to get an early bird signed copy, I think there's going to be 300 of those that'll probably go really fast. And so if you want to get one of those, you can sign up on the link below at wellfedillustrators.com. And we won't use that email for anything else. That email is only to basically make the announcement for this product. And if we choose to do any other follow-up type books, we do have a few others planned with other artists that will fit in this category. I can't announce them yet because we haven't really started working on them yet, but they're more in the idea stage right now. But I will, that would be the only thing we would use your email for, is just to send out an announcement on, like, right when we launch, and maybe like what's up and coming and stuff like that, but not hitting you every week and stuff like that. And of course you could always unsubscribe if you don't like our emails. But it's a reality when you're trying to get the word out on things that you're working on. One of the best ways to do it is to just be able to send an email and say, hey, this is the thing that we have now. So if you want to get an early bird signed copy, they'll go pretty quick, but there's 300 of them. And if we run out of those, there might be a chance that we'll open up some more. I'm not sure yet. But anyway, when friends ask, like, I missed out on your signed book, often I'm like, I love signing books for people, so I'll sign another one. And so maybe we'll open up and do it. If there was a bunch of people that are asking, we might open up another one after that. So that's basically it. We're gonna launch this thing, and then I'll probably make a follow-up video just to show you guys, how it did. And I know a lot of people on this YouTube channel are interested in the marketing side of their work, and that's what I've always talked about here, is the business side. I'll share with you some behind the scenes stuff. The last time I did a Kickstarter, of course, we did the Can We Fund in 1 hour thing with the little heroes, and we did. Not going to do that on this one, although I think we will probably fund within an hour again. But I will share with you some of our marketing tips and what we're actually doing behind the scenes to get the word out. And I'll make a follow-up video on that, and I'll probably do it with Ian Nelson. He's the young entrepreneur kid that I've been working with, who does marketing for different companies and stuff like that. And I'll probably bring him on and do some Q&A with him and give you guys some ideas on like what to do if you're planning on launching a book. And his plans for selling this book go way beyond Kickstarter. So there's some exciting things that I guess I'll just leave it as a teaser right now that we have planned. But his main focus was not Kickstarter. I talked him into doing a Kickstarter because I didn't want to try to come up with the money to print books, because we just didn't know what the demand would be. I mean, really, that's one of the beauties of crowdfunding is you can take the orders first and then place your order, and you can, if you sell 1,000 books or 2,000 books, you can, or more, you can say, well, if I've already pre-sold 2,000 in the next 2 years, I think I can sell another 2,000, so I'll order 4,000. So I'll use the Kickstarter money instead of taking a profit and print more books. And so that's one option that we had, and the reason why I wanted to use Kickstarter, because I think, I'd love to order 5,000 books or more, but coming up with that kind of money out of your pocket, and then if you've ever dealt with 1,000 of one thing, like I remember the first time that my mailing list, my physical direct mail mailing list got to 1,000 names, and I had to put stamps on 1,000 postcards and put stickers on 1,000 postcards, and I was like, holy cow, 1,000 is a huge number, and you just think, 1,000. But if you have to deal with 1,000 things, and if you think about this book, it's going to be thick. It's going to be right around 300 pages. So it's going to be pretty substantial, and 1,000 of those would completely more than fill my garage. We've already planned on renting a space to house the books, to store them before we ship them out. But anyway, I will be sharing more. If you want to get in on the early bird and be notified when the Kickstarter launches, just click the link, and there's just a place to put your email in there, and then you'll get it like the moment we hit the launch button on Monday morning, a week from today. We're gonna click send on the MailChimp mass email and blast that out to everybody that signed up. And so you'll have an option to just kind of jump on Kickstarter and get a signed book. So that's that. And anyway, I'll be making a part 2 to this, and maybe even a part 3, depending on how things go and what the interest is. If there's a lot of interest to follow up on what Ian's doing and what tools he's using. He's got some pretty exciting things that work with and without Facebook. And so we're going to just see where we go with this. And as always, I love to share my numbers. So, you can see the Kickstarter numbers. We're going to do something right after Kickstarter, and then the real stuff starts after that. And then we should also be launching other companion volumes to this thing that go in different directions, that have different information to it. So anyway, as always, thanks for watching, and hope to see you on the next one.